Hey, what's up, y'all? It's been a while since I've made a video. Been pretty busy the past year. I'm gonna get into that in this video and a couple other videos. But if you're checking this out, obviously you just want to get right to it. This video is gonna be pretty much how to train and how to physically get ready for officer candidate school in the Marine Corps. Giving you some hopefully pretty recent advice. I just went through the course last year, and fingers crossed that stuff is still relevant. I feel like it is, especially with the way the physical training program is going with OCS. I'm just gonna share with you everything that worked for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. If you take these things that I'm going to give you to work on, you'll be set regardless of where your current fitness level is at. Let's get into it. So how to train for OCS. Okay, so first things first, running. You've got to be good at running. I'm not saying you have to be the fastest, but you have to be able to last on your feet for a while. Whenever I went through, we were running anywhere from 3 to 4 days a week, and that was mixed in with conditioning pieces like functional fitness, high intensity, things like that. So you've got to be really comfortable with running. Now, if you're working on running, you can't just go in from not running a lot to running really hard and running every day. You're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to end up showing up to OCS, potentially getting stress fractures, other injuries, and you're going to be sent home. You've probably heard horror stories of people getting injured, and this is the number one reason why people get injured, is because they try to ramp up their training too fast and get ready for OCS that way. So you've got to kind of take some time and ease into it. If you're not running right now, you need to start out at no more than 2 to 3 days a week and no more than 30 minutes at a time. Yeah, I know that probably doesn't sound like a lot when you're thinking what you're going to be doing at OCS, but hopefully you're having some time between here and when you go to OCS, so that way you have time to prepare and build yourself up gradually. What I suggest is you increase your mileage by about 10% every week. So for easy numbers, say for example, you're already running 10 miles a week. 10%, so we're going to add 1 mile the following week. And then we're going to roughly add a little bit more than that, and then a little bit more than that. And then you can build mileage pretty quickly without really changing anything up. It's going to be dependent on you and how your body is responding. One thing I will say is that when you're prepping for OCS, there's no reason to push through nagging injuries or pains, because you're going to need to make sure you're as healthy as you can possibly be when you get to OCS. I promise you, if you have any nagging injury, like a stress fracture, maybe some kind of knee issue, hip, ankle, whatever the case is, mainly talking your lower body, it's going to come out and you're going to see it at OCS, and it could cause you some issues and send you back home. Don't want that. When I broke down my running, what I would do whenever I was doing the 3 days a week, I would do one easy day, thinking about a true zone 2 run, which I'll get into here in a second. I would do one speed day that would really focus on increasing my ability to run fast, and then I'd work on a longer run day. Ideally, that would be maybe not as slow as a zone 2 run, but it wouldn't be as fast as like my speed day run. So when I'm talking about zone 2, I'm talking about being in your zone 2 for your heart rate. That pretty much is somewhere between 60 and 70% of your max heart rate. If you are able to track your heart rate, great. If you're not, what I recommend doing, and you'll do this same format at OCS, take your PFT time, how fast it takes you to run 3 miles, take your average mile time based off of that 3 miles, and then add anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes, and that is your slow, easy day run pace. So for easy numbers, we're going to play with it like this. If you're running a 21-minute 3 mile, your average pace per mile is 7-minute miles. So now when you look at that, we're going to add 3 to 4 minutes. So my slow, easy zone 2 runs are going to be somewhere between around 10 and 11 minutes. Now I know that may seem super slow, but there is a lot of value in the zone 2 runs. First of all, you're building up endurance for your body just to handle the time on your feet. You want to start off nice and easy, thinking about maybe 30 minutes at a time and adding on anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes every week until you top out at around 60 minutes. You don't really need to go longer than 60 minutes unless you're training for a marathon or something like that, which here you're not. The longest you're going to run, I think, is maybe all of 4.5, 5 miles. So that zone 2 is really important. It's going to help build up, like I said, the endurance for your body to withstand whatever you're going to be doing with running, as well as your heart. Second, for the speed run, this is going to be where you get to have some fun and you get to kind of push the pace and go hard. You don't have to do this where you just go out and run 3 miles as fast as you want every week. I mean, you can, but you're probably not going to see as much gains as you would like to. So what I recommend is breaking it up and like kind of alternating every week. Like one week, maybe you're doing what we like to call like a critical velocity kind of day where you're going really fast, for like maybe a shorter period of time. Or maybe then you're doing like a threshold run day where you're doing fast, but for a longer period of time, maybe with some recovery built in at like a slower pace. So mixing it up and doing things like that is going to be great, and it's going to help expedite your run time. If you haven't tried it, simple workout you can do is 8 sets of a 1 minute run at a very, very hard pace. Think something faster than you would run your PFT at, and then a minute and a half rest. I know that seems super simple and it's nowhere near 3 miles, but I promise you, give it a try and you're going to see exactly why it's miserable, and you're going to see your times increase over the course of you doing that. Now, for your longer runs, this is where you're going a little bit faster than the zone 2, but nowhere near as fast as what we just talked about with the speed day. So think about something where maybe how we talked about that, finding your zone 2 time frame. Maybe think about now adding 2 to 3 minutes to your average mile pace for your PFT. So if we're going off of that original 21-minute PFT, 7-minute mile, then we're adding 2 to 3 minutes. You're running those moderate pace runs anywhere from 9 to 10 minutes. Maybe you can creep up and go a little faster, but you don't want to go too fast. Like, you still want to get done with that run for the day and not be completely beat down. I recommend adding the 1% starting out to those easy runs. That way you're building up time on your body and you're just getting your body used to moving a little bit longer. You can't just go from running less than 10 miles a week to trying to jump right into 20. You're going to have a lot of issues, a lot of injuries, regardless of your age. You might be lucky and maybe you have a really good foundation, did some track in high school or something like that, but it's going to creep up on you. And the last thing you want to do is get to OCS and have any kind of injury lingering going around there. The second thing you want to work on for getting ready for OCS is strength training. Now, I'm not saying you need to go do max outputs and do 1 rep maxes and find as heavy as you can lift, because you're never really going to do that at OCS. More so, you're going to be working on things like muscular endurance. So when you're thinking about this, like in the weight room, and you're strictly focusing on just strength, I'm not talking about functional fitness yet, I'm talking about strength. You're looking at maybe in the rep ranges of anywhere from like 5 to 12 reps. Now, just so you guys understand why I say 1 rep maxes are not valuable with training like this, it's because when you approach that 1 rep max mark, you're also putting yourself at a very vulnerable place to get injured. But when you're prepping for something like OCS, it's not needed. You've got to kind of think about aligning what your goal is going to OCS, and you're making your training aligned to that. I'm not saying you can't lift heavy, because give you a 3 rep max for the day, you're still going to be heavy if you do it right. But it's not going to be where you're potentially pushing your max output, where you open up the door for other injuries to come your way. But what I recommend is, if you're going to do some kind of strength training, you start with something moderate weight. You don't want to just jump right into hitting those 5 rep, 3 rep numbers, because ideally those numbers are meant to push you on the heavier side. I recommend, my favorite thing to start with whenever I'm getting back into lifting, if I had to take a break for whatever reason, I like doing the, I call it a ladder format. I do 1 set of 10, 1 set of 8, 1 set of 6, 1 set of 8, 1 set of 10. And I try to keep those weights where it's like I get done with this whatever set I'm on, and I maybe could have pushed out 2 to 3 more reps. What I like to do when I'm doing with these is I take the rest and I minimize the rest. Like, I have like a lot less rest. Like, for example, I'll do a set of 10, I'll rest a minute and a half, and I'll hit a set of 8 at a heavier weight. And I'm listening to my body, and if I can't maybe push out those 8 reps, I'll rest a little bit longer. And then, like, after 3 weeks, I'll change it up. And maybe at that point, I'm doing 5 sets of 8 all at the same weight. Or maybe I'll switch it up. Hey, I'm doing 10 sets of 3 because I've got my body used to lifting again. I'm going for a little bit of a heavier rep range. It all truly depends on where you're at with your training. You can take that format and apply it to any lift out there. Now, the third thing you want to work on when getting ready for OCS is going to be high intensity training. This is going to look like those circuits, or if you're familiar with the methodology of CrossFit, functional fitness, something like that, where you're working for a moderate time period and you're doing some high reps, but you're not really doing a lot of crazy heavy things. Now, yes, you can do heavy movements in these circuits, but goal of going to OCS, you don't really need to stress with going so heavy in these circuits. You more so need to get your body used to moving different movement patterns all at once and working for a longer period of time. Now, when I say a movement pattern, basically talking about you want to mix up, like in a circuit, like a press and a squat. You maybe want to pick up something like a pull-up and a sit-up. Just mixing up different movement patterns to where you're tiring your body out and you're getting your body used to working all different kinds of ways all in one workout. You'll do workouts like these at OCS. You'll do things where you'll pick up a kettlebell, you'll do some kettlebell swings, and you'll go right next to doing like a CFT type workout. You'll move right into doing some pull-ups. You might even add some running in there. And most of these weights are all relatively light on the bigger scale of things. Like you're not looking at doing a max output or anything close to it. Think about picking up an ammo can for the CFT, and that's about the average weight that you'll see out there. I recommend incorporating this anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week. So many different variations of what you can do. You can do something where you have a set time and you work for that time. You can do something like an EMOM, which we call every minute on the minute, where you have a certain rep range, you do it in that minute, then you rest, you pick up and do another movement the next minute, and you just keep that going for whatever. You can do like a rounds for time format. You give yourself like 3 or 4 movements, a certain rep range for each. Go through all those movements once and then hit it again for whatever rounds you want to do. Looking at things like that, and I like to incorporate movements like kettlebell swings, overhead pressing. You can grab a kettlebell and do a squat, like a goblet squat. You can do things like lunging. You can do farmer's carries. You can do like a burpee over a movement. So like say you have a kettlebell, do a burpee on one side, jump over the kettlebell, do it on the other side and do something like that. All different kinds of things that you can do in these kinds of circuits. I highly recommend incorporating these and mixing them with your strength days. That way, if you're doing the strength 2 to 3 times a week, you're doing these circuits 2 to 3 times a week, you can go in, do your strength portion first, then do your circuit second, and then do a cool down. Or you can do your conditioning first with the circuit, you can do your strength after, and then you can do the cool down. The big thing with the functional fitness is this is where you do open the door to potentially get injured if you're not doing the movements the right way. And that's where maybe like getting a coach, sending a video of yourself to a coach, get somebody to check out, make sure you're doing things okay. That's great to do because last thing you want to do is get into these functional fitness circuits that you do need to incorporate and then you start hurting yourself. One thing I'll recommend is whatever you do, start on the lighter side rather than going heavy. What's going to matter for you is making sure you can get to OCS healthy and prepared and ready to go. All right, number 4, hiking / rucking, whatever you want to call it. This is something that you will do at OCS, not a ton, but you will do it. And then this also helps get you prepared for TBS, which I promise you will be hiking at TBS. Another video on TBS that we'll do later on. But as for when it comes to rucking, we're just going to call it rucking for fun. You want to make sure that you're starting off nice and easy and gradually building your way up. What I like to recommend is if you're starting out, never done it before, never taken some time, put no more than 45 pounds on your back. I know 45 pounds maybe doesn't sound heavy, but I'm going to tell you right now, it will take a toll on you and it'll mess you up if you go too heavy too fast. No more than 45 pounds, no more than an hour at first, and at a moderate pace. You shouldn't be running. You shouldn't be walking so fast that you're basically running. You want to think about just moving nice and smooth from start to finish. And then with that, then you can gradually build in and make things a little bit harder from week to week. So say for like the first couple weeks, you don't go more than an hour, and maybe you hold on to 45 pounds, but you try to increase your speed every week. What I recommend is, however you decide to break it up, you maybe lay it out on a calendar and put like the end day, and be like, okay, cool, I want to hit a 6-mile ruck with 75 pounds in under 2 hours. Sweet. Then now you kind of back plan and you take a look at, okay, how could I build this up maybe 3-week increments? I'd recommend making it a goal by the end of whatever ruck cycle, hiking cycle you put yourself on. Try to end it around holding a 3.5 mile per hour pace with about anywhere from 75 to 85 pounds. The 3.5 mile per hour pace comes out to a roughly 17.5 per minute mile. And if you could hold that pace, I guarantee you'll be plenty okay. And you'll probably finish faster than most. Last and final thing when it comes to training for OCS, recovery routine. Yeah, nobody likes it. It's not fun, it's not sexy, but you need it. You need to think about incorporating some kind of foam rolling, some kind of stretching, maybe getting a lacrosse ball, maybe even incorporating a massage once a month or something like that. With the demands you're going to be putting on your body to prep for the demands of OCS, you need to have that recovery routine in place. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. When you're done with your workout, take an extra 10 minutes to maybe stretch out those muscles that you worked out a little more intensely, maybe foam roll just a little bit, but do something to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And along with that, you want to make sure you're actually incorporating rest days. I like to think about for surely one solid rest day, potentially two depending on where you're at with your training. No, this is not fun, but I will also tell you, if you don't already know, there is at least one day a week dedicated to a recovery PT at OCS. You get with everybody, you do a foam roll routine, you do a stretching routine, and you do it for an hour. I'm telling you to do it for 10 minutes a day and you'll be okay. So think about that. That's how much OCS wants to make sure you guys are taken care of and are learning the right ways, because they are incorporating things like that to make sure that you're ready for the next day and ready for any PT session that's coming your way. Now, I know I've thrown out a lot to you. I know this is probably, if you've made it this far in the video, props to you. If you're preparing for OCS, I have a program out there that I put out there that it's exactly the way that I trained. If you're interested in the program, it's a 12-week OCS prep program, and it builds off everything that I talked about here. It gives you some guidance. It helps you understand the purpose of the zone 2 runnings that we talked about, strength training progressions, functional fitness circuits, hiking, and everything in between. I took what I learned. I took some of the exercises and workout days that they use at OCS, and I put that into this program to help get you ready to go kick ass at OCS. I've been in your shoes, and I know what it's like to go into OCS being not sure if you're ready, not sure if you did enough. I can promise you, if you take the time to prepare, you'll have done enough. If you don't follow my program, that's still perfectly fine. Hit me up with questions about OCS. I'll be happy to help or answer whatever questions I can. I'd love to see you go there and kick ass and be a part of the next generation of officers that are coming into the Marine Corps. Regardless, I hope you do good. Hope you go out there and crush it. And if you have any questions, hit me up. I'll be happy to help out.